Have you ever felt like the world was against you? It's like you were starting from a place so far behind everyone else that catching up seemed impossible? Today we're going to talk about a man who didn't just catch up, he redefined the race. This is the story of Larry Ellison, the orphan who took on the tech world and won. Our story begins in 1944, in New York City. A baby boy named Lawrence Joseph Ellison is born. But his start in life is anything but ordinary. Rejected by his biological father, and with a mother unable to care for him, he's sent to live with his aunt and uncle in Chicago when he's just a baby. He grows up in a poor neighborhood, carrying a weight that most of us can't imagine. Never even knew who his father was. This early pain, this feeling of being an outsider, could have broken him. Instead, it forged an unbreakable will, a strength that would turn every failure into fuel for his ambition. Growing up, Larry wasn't what you'd call a star student. In fact, he was the opposite. He struggled in school, often feeling restless and uninspired. He managed to get into the University of Illinois, but he dropped out. He tried again at the University of Chicago and dropped out again. To the outside world, he looked like a failure, a young man with no direction and no future. But beneath that seemingly aimless exterior, a fire was burning. It was a fierce, relentless desire to prove his worth, not just to others, but to himself. He was determined to show the world that he was more than his circumstances. In the 1960s, with little more than a dream and a rebellious spirit, Larry Ellison packed his bags and headed for California. This was the heart of the counterculture movement, but it was also the dawn of the digital age. He was drawn to the excitement, the sense of possibility in the air. He found work as a programmer at various tech companies, and something clicked. He was a natural. He was incredibly curious, relentlessly determined, and most importantly, he was daring. He wasn't afraid to ask what if. It was here in the burgeoning tech scene of California that he crossed paths with two other brilliant minds, Bob Miner and Ed Oates. Together, they started to imagine something that didn't exist yet. Database systems so powerful, so revolutionary, it could organize the world's information in a completely new way. The year is 1977, while Star Wars is dominating the box office. Larry Ellison, Bob Miner, and Ed Oates are starting their own epic adventure. With just $2,000 in their pockets, they founded a company called Software Development Laboratories. Doesn't sound too catchy, right? Well, they'd soon change it. Ellison had been inspired by a paper he'd read about a CIA project codenamed Oracle. He saw the potential, and he borrowed the name. Oracle was born. Their big idea was to build a database on a new programming language called SQL. At the time, it was a huge gamble. But Ellison had a gut feeling that SQL would become the industry standard. And he was right. But let's be clear, this was no overnight success story. The early days of Oracle were brutal. The company teetered on the brink of bankruptcy not once, but several times. They were drowning in debt, wrestling with product failures, and constantly missing delivery deadlines. The pressure was immense. Countless sleepless nights were spent coding, debugging, and trying to keep the dream alive. Many people would have quit. They would have thrown in the towel and called it a day. But not Larry Ellison. He was known for his bold, sometimes controversial personality. He was aggressive, he was a risk-taker, and he absolutely refused to give up. He understood that in the high-stakes game of technology, persistence was the only path to victory. As the 1980s dawned, Oracle's relentless hard work started to pay off. The world was entering the information age, and businesses needed a way to manage massive amounts of data. Oracle's SQL-based database was the perfect solution. The company began to grow at an incredible pace. First, it was small businesses, then major corporations, and soon, even governments and massive institutions were relying on the technology that Ellison and his team had built from scratch. Oracle became the global standard, the trusted name in database management. By the time the 1990s rolled around, they weren't just a successful company. They were a global powerhouse, going head-to-head with giants like Microsoft. Larry Ellison, the boy from Chicago who everyone had written off, was now one of the most powerful and influential figures in Silicon Valley. But Larry Ellison's story isn't just about building a tech empire. His ambitions stretched far beyond the boardroom. A true visionary, he was passionate about pushing limits in every aspect of his life. He became an accomplished sailor, leading his team to win the prestigious America's Cup. He became a philanthropist, donating hundreds of millions of dollars to medical research and other causes. And yes, he became one of the wealthiest people on the planet. But through it all, he held on to a core philosophy that defined his entire journey. Never, ever accept the limits that other people place on you. He truly believed that failure wasn't the end. It was just a necessary stop on the road to success. So what can we learn from the incredible life of Larry Ellison? His story is a powerful testament to the human spirit. It shows us that where you start in life doesn't have to determine where you end up. From a poor boy with no father and seemingly no prospects, one of the greatest innovators in history was born. He teaches us that no matter how many times life knocks you down, no matter how many people tell you that you can't do it, with courage, a clear vision, and unwavering perseverance, you can turn any obstacle into a stepping stone, as he might say himself. Dream big, take risks, don't be afraid to fail, because failure is only final when you decide to give up. Thank you so much for watching. If this story inspired you, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more stories of incredible people who changed the world. We'll see you in the next video.